All right, Pat, 38 points for your guy, Anthony Edwards. He's now shooting 47% from three-point range. Pretty good for a guy that can't shoot, huh?
Yeah, except in the last minute, he was amped. He
did.
threw up 2 3-pointers in regulation. And by the way, the coach, when asked after the game to pay tribute to Ant, which he did, mentioned that at the end of regulation, we have to have a little more ball movement.
Yeah, he also added we had Score North representation. All three of us were at Target Center last night, and Judd and I were at the Finch session after the game, and he was asked about some of that stuff, and he said, "Listen, I like that he's finding his teammates now. Like he found Jaden McDaniels for a big three, and Mike Conley. He goes, but he's got to start earlier because it's great." But if he waits 15 seconds to start, then we don't have enough time to swing the ball around. But he's taken big steps in that regard.
Yeah, but the last minute, he both did what I think a minute 11 they had there, and they could have clinched, and he took two threes in that, and he holding the ball. He comes down, holds the ball, and if you're sitting in your living room in Golden Valley like I was, he's going to shoot, and he's going to miss. That's my theory. Now, in overtime, he was he made that. It wasn't a three, but it was a great two, and he was fantastic in overtime. But I thought the game was extremely ugly until the overtime.
It was very 1990s with,
and the officials.
It was muddy, and then there was two superstars getting their 30, and then the rest was.
And then the officials were god awful. They were calling everything, and they wanted to control the game, and they had to have 12 conferences. It's stupid. The NBA's got more stupid fouls rules. They got the take foul, and now they have the hostile act foul, and screw the hostile act foul.
Is that different than a flagrant?
If it's a flagrant, call it a flagrant. They wanted to know if was it somebody from Boston, the guy he jumped, McDaniel jumped. They had to investigate when McDaniel jumped. He didn't even foul the guy on Tatum on the side, whether it was a hostile act or not, by getting underneath his legs. And God Almighty, stop it. They're like the NFL. They keep adding rules instead of subtracting them. Subtract rules. But that said, the crowd, you were there, Judd. By the way, that was a 3-hour game, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It was damn near 10 o'clock.
With overtime, it was
it was fun.
I think we got out after like 10:15, 10 o'clock or so.
Yeah. It was fun, but and the crowd was nuts in overtime. But it was ugly at times. It was. You're right, Phil. It was an old time war. But Boston, I really liked them, but they, neither team really was shooting that well. Missed a lot of threes, both teams. So, but hey, you beat Boston, and they had 18,000 again, right?
They did.
Didn't they have 18,000 again on a Monday night? That's pretty astounding for this team.
We had A-Rod in the house. We had Justin Jefferson sitting a few seats down from Alex. We had Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, the Judd Zulgad, the luminaries were out.
But not with Jefferson. They didn't sit together. I'm very curious if there's dissension here.
Yeah, could be dissension. Could be he doesn't want to sit. Could be he doesn't have his contract yet, so he doesn't want to sit with those guys. Let's stir
Hawkinson
it up.
got his.
Come on, let's do it. let's stir it up. But they're people also very upset that Cat was playing in overtime instead of Nas. They wanted Nas. Where was Nas?
He didn't play very long in overtime. Yeah.
Actually, Cat, I did too. I didn't know. Cat was absolutely awful last night.
He's lost. He's absolutely lost. He does not know what they want him to do. He does not. They don't. Well, there was a time in the overtime when he rolled. He was open over on the left wing. And he rolled off a pick, and he was in, and Ant looked at him and dribbled the other way. Ant's we're going to have a little dissension there too, because he's not, even when he's trying to get the ball, he's not getting the ball. So
and then when he does try to insert his offense, it always feels like it feels a little out of context from everything else they're doing. It's almost like, okay, it's my turn now. I'm going to try and kind of and then he gets the offensive fouls. And
when it was desperate, that drive that he tried to make there, was that late in regulation or overtime again? I think it was late in regulation, and he charged the guy, and he just was like, I got to go get 2. I got 7 points here. He's going to get traded because by mutual consent here. I think he's got to want out because the way he's being used, they're not getting use out of him. And but the trouble is they're going to try to get 2 number 1s and all this stuff, and they're not going to get that. They're not going to get that.
If you could even taking him out of the mix could be, it's weird because he is a good player, and there's room for Cat to score 25 and 12 on an NBA team somewhere. But taking him out of this clunky mess and then replacing him with, let's say it's you get like a first-round pick and then 2 or 3 players that fit what you're trying to do, there could be a way to make it a positive thing, but you're never going to get like 4 first-round picks for him at this point.
Rudy is really active right now. He was even guarding guys out on the wing last night and stuff. But the trouble is, the day they trade Cat, he's going to pull a hammy and won't play for 2 months. So that's Rudy. And all of a sudden, you're going to say, boy, I sure wish we had Cat to play in the post here a little bit. So
they also had Drew Holiday on Cat for like the entire first half or the majority of the game.
What was that
about? I couldn't understand. What was the X's and O's decision?
The X's and O's are Cat struggles with smaller players. So you think that it would be logical, hey, there's a smaller player on Cat, post him up. He doesn't do well in those situations. He gets really flustered when he gets crowded by smaller players, and they knew that going in.
Holiday's a great defender, and the guy kind of gets underneath him, and he's there that the first step he takes, he's going to charge him, because Holiday's got the NBA. It's a lot of it's based on reputation, So Drew, hey, he's a great defender, so he comes and sets himself underneath Cat. He's not going to get called for a foul. And if Cat makes a move and he takes a dive, it's going to be a foul. So.
That's one of the biggest things it's been 8 years, 9 years, whatever it's been for Cat. And he has yet to solve the puzzle of an opposing team putting a smaller player on him, right? Think about all the big men. You put a smaller player on Jokic. All right, cool. He's going to back you down. He's going to literally elbow you into the paint. And he's going to go over your head. Tim Duncan, like all those years ago. Well, even Porzingis just shoots over your head last night when Naz Reid's guarding him.
And meanwhile, we're paying honor to Gobert, who we started to see the hack-a-Rudy last night, though. He can't go up to the line and go 2 for 11.
No, at one point, Judd and I were like, why isn't Rudy in the game right now? And then 10 seconds later, oh, they're hacking him. And
he missed both the free throws. It worked out perfect.
They're going to have the hacker-Rudy because he was shooting, when that game started last night, he was shooting 73% on free throws this year. Yeah. That's gone down.
Regression's a bitch is what you're finding out.
And when he went that last time, when they hacked him, and he shot the first one and hit the front of the rim, you're watching on TV and saying, he's not even going to get to the rim this time because he's short-armed it. He barely hit the net with that one. So, but it's nice to have that team a topic of discussion right now. That's for sure. It's
a blast.
The
guy that impressed me though, Jaden, because he got off to a terrible start. I
think
he was
weren't guarding
one
him.
of 9.
Weren't guarding him.
Yeah. But you know what he did? Unlike Cat, he found his role and he plays such good defense that he does things that contribute when he's not shooting well. So you see that, and then he came on, and Ant actually helped get his confidence back up a little bit. But then he came on and played well and scored at the end. But that's what you want. That's what you want, Cat to find. Okay, if you're not scoring, dude, you're not shooting well. Find a role. Find something that you do well, and that's where I feel Cat gets completely lost.
They're completely different athletes, though, too. I mean, McDaniels is a hell of a defender. It is interesting, though, McDaniel in this league of nutcases, right? Everybody's crazy. I mean, Ant's crazy. Let's face it, Ant's crazy. He's a fierce competitor, but he's goofier than hell. And Jaden McDaniels, he had to go to high school for 4 years and never say a word to anybody. I mean, it's he's the quietest guy of all time, isn't he? He makes the three and he smiles a little bit, but he's for an NBA player and a guy that just got $70 million. He doesn't. He's not very effusive with his personality. That's for which is fine. But
no, he's just But the other thing that they kept using the word maturity going into the season, and like the word maturity would come up, and it was like everyone's eyes would turn to Jaden McDaniels for punching a wall, or Karl-Anthony Towns for complaining about the wind blowing through the concourse. And it feels like last night, to Judd's point, Jaden McDaniels starts 1 for 9 or whatever it was, and he's turning the ball over and committing fouls. That feels like a game where he would just kind of be benched in the second half last year. And instead he comes back and so we got one guy that's going down the maturity path here. We need Finch after the game referenced, hey, that's what we need out of Jaden McDaniels, but we need it from all of our players to show that level of maturity.
Well, what's interesting, another thing about him that's not a positive is Kevin Lynch, I saw after the game saying, well, you got to really be impressed with the depth on this team. Well, and then he started looking at the score sheet down to his left, and you realize you don't have any depth. You got Nas, sixth man. You got Jordan McLaughlin's now your backup point guard because the other guy can't play it. And you got, what did they play? 8 guys last night. Shake played 3 minutes, didn't he?
Shake is supposed to be better than this, and he was in Philadelphia. That's if Shake can get back to the Philadelphia Shake Milton, then you've got a solution. But
the 2 games that I've been to in person, he was a train wreck.
Yep.
But and the other guy that they got from Denver, they don't even play him anymore. Tony Brown or whatever.
Troy Brown.
Brown.
He's a shooter. Like there'll be some games where he plays.
When he doesn't shoot. So, but anyway, what I'm saying is, we all thought, oh, they got depth. They're no deeper than they were a year ago.
The one guy that they haven't
last year with Torian Prince.
The one guy they haven't unleashed yet, and they probably won't until like December or January, is their early second round pick, Leonard Miller. Yeah. He was a lot of different speculation about him being a lottery pick that just kind of fell out. I mean, kind of like Jaden McDaniels was once one of the best high school recruits and college prospects in the country. He falls late first round. So I do wonder at some point, as long as you're trying to find 25-30 minutes though for Cat and for Nas, I don't know that there's room for another 6'11" sort of unicorn player. So a trade might unclog that.
My basketball man, Terry Kunze, the old gopher and a coach and a guy who has a 65-inch television that he sits in front of 18 hours a day and watches every basketball game in the world. He can tell you about a great player in Dilworth, Minnesota, and Europe. He watches European basketball. He's all over this guy and was telling me about him, when they got him, that
he can play.
This guy can play lefty. He's a lefty, and he's a big Miller fan. So
there's a little some Chris Bosh undertones to his game that are really interesting. So we'll see.
But it's what and Edwards has got a lot to do with it. But the 2 years ago, the crowd was okay, and they won 46 games, but it was okay. But the last 2 years, even last year, they only won 42. But in this year, the crowds have been much more rabid, actually involved. I think it turned to me that I saw, wow, they're paying attention. Last year when Nas made a 3, and that gave Ant a triple double or a triple double or something, and the crowd cheered like they knew they knew it was an assist that would give him a triple double. And I said, "Wow!"
They wanted to start to come back with Butler and Tibbs, and those crowds were great that first year, and then they got pissed off. But that created a fan base that is way more passionate. And like they've been waiting, and like the last 2 years have started that, because before Butler, people weren't coming. I mean, it just sucked.
Yeah.
So like that started a fan base now that is. What's great is they're really loud. They're super passionate. It's not the wild family crowd. It's more of a blue collar, feels like a blue collar drinking beer crowd.
Yeah, that's it was obviously I was the only member of this panel here who wasn't there last night, but it was interesting enough that I wasn't flipping channels to see what else was going on. I was watching the basketball game, so it was terrific. But again, as I said, I spent half the time watching the game bitching about the officials not letting anybody play. But it's just one of those nights in the NBA when they start calling fouls and they don't stop. And it is funny that Ant had
13 minutes he played with 5.
Yeah, fourth quarter he had 5 all the time, and he committed a dumb 6 that they didn't call on him when he pushed the guy. Did you see that? He was on when they were on offense, and he just pushed the guy out of his way in the overtime, and they didn't call it. So,
but did you hear what he said after the game? Because he got physical with Tatum and forced that tie up, and that could have easily been the 6th foul too. And so Dane Moore asked him about that play after the game and said, "Hey, you played the last 13 minutes with 5 fouls. You got tangled up there with Tatum." And Ant goes, "They don't want to foul me out. So I'm gonna play aggressive because they don't want to foul me out." So
the officials. Well, that's good.
I wouldn't say that out loud, but
not the officials, because next time one of the egomaniacs is going to come in and they're going to foul your rear end out in about 3 minutes. Yeah.
With Cat, they can't wait to foul Karl-Anthony Towns out of a game. With Anthony Edwards, you can play as long as you want with 5.
Cat was better with the officials last year, I thought, didn't you? I mean, it wasn't as crazy as often.
After he came back from the injury.
Last night it was
right away.
He was frustrated, but boy, he's got an image problem in town there. Oof, man, people just savaged him. I turned it on, and I turned it on in the middle of early in the second quarter, and he wasn't. Then I didn't see him for long minutes, and I said, "What's going on with Cat?" And they all started, same thing as every night. He sucks, and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I think we appreciate, when it comes to adversity, we appreciate stoicism. We want personality. We want the Pucketts and the Anthony Edwards and stuff. But when it comes to just like grinding through adversity, we'd rather you not be whiny and complaining. And when you see him 5 times in a game have to go down the tunnel stomping and pouting and then grabbing at his shorts and stomping down the court, and
I don't know if it was the case last night, but here's the other thing with him. If he gets one foul that he doesn't think he deserved, he immediately does the same thing and gets another one. He's that's what, to me, where his immaturity really shows. He says, "I'll show them. I'll do it again." Yeah, okay, 2 fouls. That's it. I think with Nas and him being the same position now, I wouldn't do the old pull him out with 2 fouls. I'd just make him play. If he wants to be a big enough idiot to get 3 fouls in the first 5 minutes, the hell with him. Go sit him down. But I think
out in the second quarter.
You're honoring him. I think you're honoring him as a star. When he gets 2 fouls, you have to go sit him down because we're going to need him. The hell with him. If he goes and if he's going to be so stupid, he's going to get 3 in the first 5 minutes. Sit him down because you got the other guy who's a better player than him right now.
Yep. So, well, Pat, we gotta run and record actually some Flagrant Howls, our Timberwolves podcast here. But it's been good. It's been good getting you on the Anthony Edwards bandwagon here.
Yeah, it's just in the last minute. I just, I don't mind him shooting. I just want him to take a glance at somebody.
Is there a teammate open?
The ball for 12 seconds. Maybe Rudy's standing there under the basket for a dunk. Just take a glance. I don't want to know when the ball is in the forecourt that he's going to shoot after holding the ball for 12 seconds.
There was one of those plays that you're talking about, and I remember Rudy was like, he flashed by doing this. It was like, I'm up under the basket, waving both arms.
Well, I was very happy listening to the Finch post game that as he was being asked by everybody to pour the wild-eyed praise on Edwards. He did go out of his way to mention that we got to get a little better in regulation. And Jim Pete had a little in that minute when he took one of those shots, but then the TV team didn't. It was all one of the great games in Ants history. We didn't go back to the 2 shots that damn near lost the game. But hey,
we moved the TV crew up to the top of 131 now. By the way, they sold some extra premium seats courtside.
Really?
So TV so Alan Horton's been up there for like 15 years, and now
Alan Horton not on the radio. That game was not on the radio last night.
It was though. It was on the streaming channel. The streaming channel.
It was whatever it's on. But it wasn't. If I was in my car and turned on a station, it wasn't on because we had to have the Gopher Bethune-Cookman game on. How would you like to be the Timberwolves and have Gopher bleeping basketball, which Ben Johnson's girlfriend doesn't even give a damn about, instead of the Wild, instead of the Wolves playing the Boston Celtics? You got to go to the Gophers and say, you suck. We don't want you anymore.
We're breaking the contract.
Contract be damned.
One last thing. Scorner's own St. Thomas Tommies lose by Cal to 1 last night on the road. Wow.
These teams are feisty, man. These D1 St. Thomas teams.
Best D1 basketball team in town.
The University
is on
of
1500
California.
ESPN.
They lost 2 by 1 in Berkeley last night. So, all right. But they were pretty close to full last night for Bethune-Cookman, I suppose. Huh?
I heard they were flowing out the door, Pat. The fire marshal showed up and was pissed.
Next home game, the offer is we give you $5. How's about that? It'll be great. All right. See you.
All right, there he is. Reusse Unchained here every Monday, every Tuesday, every Thursday, and every Friday.